Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
$11:01 on The Lock Shop. Thank you very much for being here. Lock Shop partner parlay cashes last night. That's always nice to see. The Lock Shop is brought to you by our great partners at Coolbet. Thank you very much for being along for the ride. If you've not yet signed up for an account at Coolbet, please do. Use the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up. You'll get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. I mean, lots to get to around the NHL last night. A little bit of a light slate tonight. We'll get into that. Some NFL line movement, and then some news over Major League Baseball that we haven't really talked about over the last few days. So we'll get to that. But something really strange just happened. I was in the office. I went to get my printed notes for the Lock Shop today. And, Trey Ford and Gavin Cobb are in here, so it's kind of a loud place right now. Anyway, I went to walk in here to do Lock Shop, and Hernan says to me, Hernan goes, "Hey, Dusty, have a good show." And I turn around, I was like, nobody's ever said that for me going into the Lock Shop. You know, they do it for other shows, but not for the Lock Shop. So I said to Trev, I came over, I said, the Lock Shop's finally getting the respect it deserves as it tries to sneak in and steal an Esty for Show of the Year on Edmonton Sports Talk. Let's bring in Huss. Huss, what do you think about this office respect from Hernan Salas wishing me a good Lock Shop today?
Shout out to Hernan. It's long overdue. Kind of sad, actually, that it took one of the newest members of the EST family to put some respect on the name. And maybe the timing is everything, because if I'm not mistaken, 4 for 4 last night in parlays. I think last night might be the most perfect night I've ever had in the Lock Shop.
4 for 4 on parlays last night?
Four wagers were made yesterday. Let's go through them, Dusty.
He's a legend, this guy.
First of all, we couldn't help but jump on for the community parlay. Oilers and Jets.
Got to be there for that.
Oilers get their win. Jets humiliate the Boston Bruins. Put a snowman on the card. 8 goals.
And Swayman in for all of them.
Oh, God, it was beautiful. First, there was we chanted U.S. backup to Ottinger. Swayman got the third stringer chant last night. He did not look like he was ready to go for Four Nations. Let me just say that. He was brutal. But anyways, for the community parlay cashes. The WST parlay cashes, and Dusty, I don't know if you caught this one, but because I guess I put this out more on Winnipeg Sports Talk, but I broke it down on the show yesterday this way. Jets need a win, so we're putting Jets money line. Hellebuck, backbone of this team, he's going to have a big game. We'll take Bruins under 2.5. And then I'm looking, and the numbers for the Jets top line for points was like minus 287, minus 260. So I'm like, okay, that's too chalky. Let's go with the Nino Niederreiter point, who was plus 145, and Neil Pionk, who I think was around plus 130 or plus 140. The first goal of the game, Nemetsnikov from Niederreiter and Pionk.
Oh, my God.
So the points were taken care of. It's 1-0, and it was all about winning the game and keep it under 2.5. They kept going. So the WST parlay cashed at plus 800. So that was a beauty. Then we're following along with the partner parlay. We needed the Avalanche. They rolled. We needed the LA Kings. They rolled. And then we needed the Wild. And the Wild were up. Then they were down, tied the game, won in a shootout, coming through. And that was plus 500. Now you're asking, what's the other parlay? If you will recall, at the end of the show yesterday, I said I kind of like Philly. You could put that on, and then Rod Z came to the table with the Florida Panthers. I said, you know what? We're doing the Huss Rod Z special on top of the partner parlay, a 5-gamer, and that one cashed at plus 1430.
Oh boy.
So just over 2-1, 5-1, 8-1, and 14-1. 4 for 4 last night. I'm just wishing we had thrown the Oilers and the Jets on that 5-gamer and made it a 7-gamer because every single game we picked yesterday came through.
My God, a 7-gamer. Wouldn't that be something?
Oh. Anyways, shout out to Rod. It was an absolutely beautiful night. I was already in a great mood after sticking it to Boston, and then to see everything else unfold the way it was. And you will notice I did not even tweet about the WST parlay last night. I was so worried about jinxing it the way everything that was going. Just had to let it ride, and then today there would be a nice victory lap. So needless to say, everyone that was riding last night is in a much better spot today than they were 24 hours ago, pretty much no matter. And I am hearing, did the Lamplighters cash at 10-1 too?
Apparently it did.
I was not on it. There's Rod Z. What's going on, Hot Rod? Woo-hoo, that was sweet.
I liked with Mark in there. Yeah, Mark says he got 8-1 live on Minnesota last night too. So
sorry, say it again.
Mark A says he got 8-1 on a live bet for the Wild last night at one point.
How late was that, Mark? It must have been like pretty well into the third period.
The lock shop is flush. The lock shop is flush. Well done, everybody. As Uke says, nice double up last night.
Yeah, it was much more than a double up for yours truly, and that's good because there'd been, I've just been in this sea of 2 weeks for the National Football League. But as I said, things started turning around. As I said last Monday with the Jameis game, and since that Browns-Broncos Monday nighter, we've steadily been going up. But last night was listen, I don't know if anything lost. So that's very rare when we're firing the amount of bullets from the lock shop that happened yesterday, and of course in the Coolbet exclusive. So what a day! I can't wait to get into a little bit more with you today, Dusty. And of course, I've spent a lot of time last night once I was done with the hockey, locking in on this weekend in the National Football League. I am so pumped for these games.
Man, you're already moving on it. Hey, I like it.
Hey, you know what? I mean, this isn't as much from a betting standpoint as just, huge game. And starting off with that Thursday nighter tomorrow night, Rams. And I still haven't really figured out where I'm at on that game, but it's a great way to start off. Obviously, you'll get the Chiefs and Browns at noon. Not a lot of other great noon games, although the Texans-Dolphins is a pretty important game. Commanders in New Orleans, that's one that, has some playoff implications. But then the late slate, Colts, Broncos, Bills, Lions, Bucks, Chargers, Steelers, Eagles, and then a Sunday nighter of the Packers and Seahawks, and then a Monday night doubleheader. I'm ready to go. You're
so fired up for the weekend. Yeah. I love it. We got some time today because we got a little later slate in the NHL. Yeah. And there was a lot to talk about coming out of the NHL schedule last night. First of all, you did mention how they pumped the Bruins, and I can talk a little bit about the Oilers and the Lightning. I thought that was a very good hockey game. The Bruins, we had Wyshynski on this morning. He was talking a bit about how he had a lot of people, over the last week or so talk about, the Bruins kind of turning it around. How did they, did it look like a disaster last night, or was it one of those games where the Jets caught a few breaks and then really blew it open?
No, I wouldn't say that they caught a few breaks. They were definitely the better team. Although I heard someone make a comment about the game on postgame yesterday, and I went and I checked the money puck deserve to win-o-meter?
Yes.
That thing was broken. That thing is broken. They had, I think, the Bruins at 51 or 52%, which is a joke. Listen, they got up 2-0 early. Great first period. Scored again to make it 3-0 in the second. ripped one past Hellebuck, unbelievable shot. So it's 3-1 after 2. So, I mean, like, the game was still very much up in the air through 40 minutes. Scheifele made an amazing play. And by the way, this was I know Scheifele doesn't swear, so it was the frick you game.
I saw your tweet last night.
I mean, Don Sweeney there, who passed him over for Team Canada. Scheifele was everywhere. 2 goals. Took a big hit to set up Kyle Connor early in the third period to make it 4-1. Then they got another one. And then Boston, by the way, let me just say this, and we'll be talking about this much more on WST today. And actually, Kevin Sawyer is going to come on with us.
Tell him I say hi.
I will for sure.
I love that guy.
Who's had his fair share of fights in the NHL.
Oh, yeah.
To talk about what happened. So now the Jets are pouring it on. It's 6-1. They throw the fourth line out there, and Trent Frederick goes after David Gustafsson. David Gustafsson, who's never had a fight in the NHL, has never, ever dropped the gloves. He's sticking him, challenging him. And, Gus has had a tough time getting in the lineup because Kupari's been so good this year. So that was only his 3rd game. And, he's put in a situation where what do you do? Frederick with 38 fights going after a guy that's never fought because you're down 6-1 was honestly one of the most chicken shit things I've seen in a long time. And I know there's going to be a lot of talk about, are the Jets tough enough? Do they need to get someone else? I mean, Logan Stanley fought Kastelik right after that. They got booted. And then Adam Lowry was so pissed off that he ended up going after Zadorov afterwards. And those big boys threw down. But, I mean, is there not a code in this game, like quote-unquote code, where, your tough guys, your enforcers aren't going after guys that have nothing to do with the situation, that have never fought before? Like, I just thought it was you want to go after Adam Lowry or one of those other guys, bring it on. But, I mean... Yeah,
Gustafsson, he hadn't done anything, like... A cheap shot earlier in the game on somebody, or
no.
Yeah, then you just don't see that very often anymore. Like, you don't see that very often.
No, exactly. And listen, that's what Boston has always done. You make them look bad on the ice, and they'll try and get their pound of flesh or whatever. It was just so stupid. Gustafsson, of course, gets knocked out in one punch. He's got a concussion. It was just BS. So I think everyone had and I mean, the whole thing started with the cheap headshot on Cole Perfetti by Charlie McAvoy. I would have preferred one of the Jets be a little proactive and go after McAvoy as opposed to waiting to score a couple more goals, including a power play goal on that penalty, and went through it. But anyways, there'll be plenty of talk about that today on WST because it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And I don't know if you saw Scott Arniel going at it with Joe Sacco. And this is why it's even more better that Sawyer's on the show today, because Sawyer was between the benches as those guys were yelling at each other. So I'm quite looking forward to that when we dive into it a little later on.
It was a different game when Sawyer was fighting. I'll tell you that. It was a little bit different for Sawyer when he was fighting back in the day. The Edmonton Oilers last night, pretty impressive win, man. Not their most impressive win of the season. I think they've had some other really good ones, and they've been winning games lately, scoring 3, 4, 5 goals. Wasn't the case last night. They only scored a couple, and they still managed to win the game. They didn't give up much. Stuart Skinner played well again. He's got 6 of his last 7 starts. He's been like above a .925. He's been outstanding. So that's positive. Their blue line played really well last night. Kulak and Nurse look like they are a really good second pair. So that's big for the team right now. And they just continue to win. I mean, they got a tough schedule coming up. They go to Minnesota tomorrow. Minnesota hasn't been, I think they've won, I think Tommy said on the postgame last night, like 7 times Edmonton has won in Minnesota since 2007. Like, it just doesn't happen very often. So that'll be tough. Then they come back with Vegas on Saturday afternoon. Then Florida's in town Monday. And then we get to see the Bruins next week, a team that you just watched. But last night, McDavid had 2 breakaways, scored on his second one. Draisaitl had a couple breakaways. And I was saying it this morning just because I don't get to watch him enough. But watching Andrei Vasilevsky play net, buddy, is just something else. Like, the way for a guy who's 6'4" to move around like he's bloody Dustin Wolf size. Like just around the way he gets around the crease and covers the lower part of the net as a big guy. It's just like as a guy who was a huge fan of goalies when I was a kid and became a goalie for 6 years because I loved goalies. Watching Vasilevsky play the position, man, is just it's poetry in motion. It looks like it's the way it's supposed to be played by everybody. It was just sensational.
Yeah, I mean, he's a quality netminder, probably pushing top 5. I mean, it doesn't stand out as much here because I live in a world where Connor Hellebuck is in net more often than not for our squad, and the way he's going right now, he is probably pushing another Vezina. But no, and all jokes aside, Vasilevsky, I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's accomplished everything you could accomplish as a goalie. Like,
how many goalies? Let's just think about this right now. How many goalies in the league right now probably end up in the Hall of Fame? Vasilevsky, Hellebuck, Shesterkin. I would imagine Shesterkin could get there. I mean, over the course of his career, I don't know whether he's done it. Like, if you got multiple Vezinas,
yeah,
obviously the cups with Tampa and the length. I mean, I think Vasilevsky's a no-brainer. Is there anyone else that's a?
Well, I think I've got a few. Marc-Andre Fleury, he'll be a Hall of Famer.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, he's not as much a regular.
I wonder where people come out on Jonathan Quick when it's all said and done. I mean, most successful American goalie ever. I mean, Quick will be a Hall of Famer, I think. And then I don't know where we qualify. I guess Carey Price is already eligible. He's out, but there's another guy who will be going into the Hall here.
He's not playing right now. Oh yeah, Carey Price.
But, are we missing anybody else?
There's a lot of guys that are in a really good spot, but are relatively younger. But I think basically I
think the 4 that we just mentioned pre-price there. People are saying Bob, Sergei Bobrovsky. I mean, multiple Vezinas, got the cup.
Bob,
pretty qualified. I could see that happening for sure.
That cup just takes you over the top. I mean, if you've got really
you mix in a cup with two Vezinas, you're going to go to the Hall of Fame. Like that's more hardware than Roberto Luongo ever had. Not even close. Yeah. So So Bobrovsky will probably be there. So there we go. That's 5. Jonathan Quick, Marc-Andre Fleury, Sergei Bobrovsky, Hellebuck is going to be heading there, and then Vasilevsky for sure, no doubter.
Hey, okay. There's only a couple games tonight.
Yeah.
So I just, obviously we talked about the games that we were on last night. The one game that we were not on was Calgary and Nashville. You recall Nashville was a pretty big favorite in that game. Again, we're like, how are these guys favorites? They lose again at home, give up 3 in the second period. Marchessault does get a couple goals. Man, dude, this team has 7 wins. 7 wins in 29 games. They are dead last in the NHL. Like, and we always joke about how we raised the banner for them, off-season champions. Congratulations, the Preds. I can't remember maybe ever a team that put so much into the offseason, had such high hopes, had spent so much money that was sitting dead last in the NHL. I mean, this is spectacularly blown up on Barry Trotz in year 1. Stamkos has 7 goals on the season.
You are right on. I'm trying to think when you brought up the fact, like the last time a team looked like, and let's be honest, I mean, a lot of us are pretty impressed with the work that they did in the offseason. But when is a team that did that come out this poorly? I can't even.
And it's not like they were a bottom-dwelling team last year and then added the guys and they haven't gotten better. I mean, they traded away guys. They called up their young guys from Milwaukee and then went on that crazy run at the end of the year. Like, they are so much worse this year than they were last season, adding Shea, Stamkos, and Marchessault. And if it wasn't for UC Saros, they might have 2 or 3 wins on the season.
Well, yeah, what's crazy is that UC Saros, like, they sucked this bad, and UC Saros actually hasn't been that bad.
No.
Usually you just look at it and go, oh, well, goaltender's absolutely ruining them. But that's That's not the case. I think I saw something last week, and obviously it could have changed since then. But I'm pretty sure, I guess I was reading an article. I can't remember which one it was, but it was about the Four Nations, and they mentioned UC Saros as the starting goaltender for the Finns, and mentioned he was like third or fourth in expected saves above expected or whatever. And I was like, damn. So he's not even the main reason that they suck. And they stole the show on free agency day. Like, it was one after another after another. And now you sit here and Huss, is that just, are we witnessing too many big names coming in at one time? Is that what's like? These are three significant pieces they're slotting in. Is that what's happened here? I know it's worked in other places, but do you think that's the reason that it's not working there?
I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, I guess there's probably a lot of things working in and around it. The bottom line is that these guys that they put a lot of money into have showed up there and just simply haven't delivered. Now, I know they've been playing. They were changing lines all the time, trying to find something that works, and it just hasn't yet. But at a certain point, I mean, those guys need to sort of step up. Like, as I said, Adam Lowry has as many goals and significantly more points than Steven Stamkos does this year. I mean, he's just, and that's the buyer beware on July 1st. I mean, a lot of these guys that are UFAs have played through their prime. They've got big time names. They've got big time expectations. They come with a big ticket, but maybe they're just not the players that they were when they were putting themselves in a position to get those deals. So certainly, I mean, Tampa made a tough decision to move off of Stamkos, and maybe he's still upset about that. It didn't seem to be very smooth for him going, but Nashville's a place a lot of guys want to play, got good money to go there, and they just have not been producing right now. And I think we can safely say, like, we can cross the Predators off right now. They're done.
They're done. I mean, they would need an all-time win to get back
Not
into
even
it
Christmas.
at this point. Yeah, no, they are.
20 points for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the deals they just dished out, too. Like, Stamkos is at $8 million. He's a UFA in 2028. Marchessault's at 5.5. He's a UFA until 2029. And then Brady Shea's a UFA in 2031. And he's at $7 million. Roman Josi, who obviously is a very good defenseman, he's at $9 million until 2028. So this, and then Forsberg, who's their best player, he's locked up at 8.5, which is actually pretty decent value for him, I think. But he's locked up until 2030. So, like, the core of this team is locked up for the next 6-7 years. Yeah. And you have to hold the pieces around him.
I will say this. Forsberg is their best forward. Josi is
Roman Josi's their best player. Yeah, no, that's fair.
He is so good. But the funny thing is, I mean, remember Barry Trotz was saying early, like about a month ago, hey, if things don't go well, we may have to reload or whatever the terminology that he was mentioning. I mean, I don't know what options he has to do that, considering what they've given out. I think that was more a kick in the ass to the guys. But
Roman Josi got hurt yesterday. So we'll see what happens. I don't know how significant it was, but I saw that he was hurt, and I see it was just brought up in the chat with Derek from the Hat. Penner's Pancake says, guys, I was just looking at the plus minus on the Preds. Ouch. Roman Josi's minus 21. Holy smokes. I'm not going to hang this on Josi because, I mean, he's one of the top 5, 6, 7 defensemen in the entire league, but minus 21. We'll take a look at the whole team here. Like, he's minus 21. He was 12, 5, 13 the last few years on the positive side. Who else is a train wreck there right now? Well, everybody, I guess. But yeah, Roman Josi leads them in scoring with 23 points. And is still minus 21. He's 34 years old, too. I didn't realize Roman Josi was that old.
Yeah, he's been around. I remember when the Jets came back, and I think we were in Nashville talking to me. Gary, we're talking to Stu Grimson. And this is at a time where they had Shea Weber, like it was before the trade. And he said to us, he said, you know, everyone talks about Weber as the guy, and he's great, but Roman Josi is the guy to watch. He's the best defenseman on this team. And, you know, a year later, everyone was sort of recognizing that. And obviously they got out of that contract and got PK into the mix.
Want to get to a couple of text messages that came rolling in. Dylan texts in us, says, guys, I was listening to the show yesterday and I parlayed everything. Jets win, Oilers win, Flyers win, Kings win, Wild win. I put down $50 to win $1,900. At least I thought I did. I went in to check my bet and it wasn't there. I must not have hit confirm or something. He says, don't worry.
No.
Yeah, but he says, don't worry, it wasn't a Coolbet. So it's not like Coolbet didn't confirm. He was, first of all, that's what you get, Dylan. Sign up for an account today. Use the code LOCKSHOP. Second of all, that sucks. So if you actually thought you put that down and then you roll in and it's not even in your settled bets account as it didn't exist, ouch. That one hurts. And another guy texted in and says, guys, I had Calgary in a 6-game parlay that hit at plus 39.17. So what a night. What a night.
That was one for the ages. That was one for the ages.
One more on hockey from last night, Huss. And we talked about it a bit with Wyshynski today. Dylan Holloway scored in overtime last night, leads the Blues in goals. They get by the Canucks. Demko's first game back. We were looking at the playoff picture yesterday, and I kind of think the 8 teams in there right now are going to be the 8 teams. Calgary's not what it was at the beginning of the year, but you've seen the Blues recently. I've seen the Blues recently. They've got the new coach. They've had a bump. Do you think the Blues are a team that factors in to the playoff positioning, or at least makes it interesting for whoever the wild card teams are going to be?
Great question. So right now we've got Minnesota, Winnipeg, Dallas in the Central, Vegas, LA, Edmonton in the Pacific, Avalanche wildcard 1, Canucks wildcard 2. Calgary has as many points as Vancouver. They've played 2 more games. And I do agree. I think Calgary's sort of been playing above their heads. I would be surprised if they're in striking distance when we get to April.
Yeah.
Of those other teams, it's not Nashville. We've crossed them off. Blackhawks, no way. Anaheim, as if. San Jose Sharks, nope. And then you get to teams that are at least at or above 500. Utah, 12, 11, and 5. I don't think they've got the horsepower to do it. I think they're sort of one of those teams that's picking out of the lottery, if you will, but, probably drafting 11th, 12th, something like that. The Kraken are pretty mid. I mean, they're 14, 14, and 2. The Blues, I guess, are the one team that you could make, if you wanted to see who's the most likely of the teams that are outside of the playoffs, if that's what you're asking, to challenge a Vancouver or Colorado.
It's got to be St. Louis, doesn't it? Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I still don't think, I think you're right. I think these are the 8 teams.
Yep.
That are going to be in the playoffs, even though there's not a lot of separation or anything like that.
It sounds crazy early to say that because it's December 11th, but I just look at it, and to me, it is undoubtedly the best 8 teams in the conference that are in there right now, and I don't see any of those other ones stepping up, with maybe the exception of St. Louis getting on some sort of Jim Montgomery run.
Now, the East is way more interesting. If you go to the East, Florida, Toronto are the class of the Atlantic. There's a gap, and then there's the Bruins. Bruins are only 3 games above 500. The Metropolitan has arguably 3 of the top. Well, I mean, by record, Carolina would be first, I guess, a point back of Florida. But Washington's been amazing. They've got 40 points. Let's assume that they keep rolling. Jersey's an absolute threat, 39 points. And the Hurricanes, I think, will be there. If we're going to give the Bruins a spot, you then look at the Lightning, who are in the first wild card. And to be honest, they're actually, I think, by points percentage, ahead of Boston, just because they've got 4 games in hand. So we'll include Tampa in that group. And then you've got Philly. So Philly is just 1 game above 500, and they've got 30 points. The crazy thing is Montreal, who's in last place in the East, is only 5 points behind the Philadelphia Flyers. So Rangers, Islanders, Penguins, Blue Jackets, Sens, Wings, Sabres, and Habs.
Wow.
All anywhere from 500 to 3 games below. So all in that mix. It would be really interesting to see, and maybe the guys will throw this up after the 2 games tonight for tomorrow. I'd love to get playoff odds for the East right now, because no team is actually out of it. It's not like we've got in, Nashville in the West. I mean, I guess you'd have to think the Rangers are the most likely team with the talent that they've got on there. I mean, like, we're just waiting for them to do something. They're 2-8 in their last 10. I think the Islanders are just that mid-team. Pittsburgh, Columbus, like, none of those teams kind of inspire me, but there's always the chance that a team can get on a bit of a heater and separate themselves. I think Philly's maybe punching above their weight class right now with where they're at. I think the most likely team is probably the Rangers. I'd love for it to be Pittsburgh, but
Pittsburgh has the worst goal differential in the entire league. It's worse than Nashville's. They're minus 30. And the Sharks are minus 27 and the Preds are minus 28.
Who has the best goal differential in the league? Washington's plus 35.
Winnipeg's plus 35.
And the Jets are plus 35. Well, whooping Boston 8-1 will help that number for sure.
Well, Boston, it's funny. Boston's goal differential is minus 19. And they're now was minus 7 last night, but still it would have been minus 12. And everybody else at the top of that picture is plus 10 or more in the East. So, yeah. I don't know, fun times. But there's 2 games tonight in the National Hockey League. Chris G says, guys, the Stars are going to spank the Preds tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a really jam-packed show. We actually had some time. I want to talk some baseball. We had some time today on the Lock Shop. So we'll get into that. Maybe some line movement in the NFL we can get to here still too. But we'll set up 2 games tonight. But tomorrow's going to be jam-packed. Huge Thursday nighter. 13 games in the NHL tomorrow. So tomorrow's show will move at a quick pace. One of the Coolbet boys will pop by as well. Before we get to the slate tonight, one more note again. Next Tuesday, December 17th, 8 o'clock start, Lock Shop Poker Series event number 5.
Yes.
Be ready to join us for that. That should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Next Tuesday, December 17th. Save the date. The boys will let us know when the tournament is up on the poker software, and then you can go pre-register, or you can just register and join us even after it starts for the first hour. So be ready for that. Lock Shop Poker Series event number 5 will be coming down the pipe next Tuesday. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hammer the thumbs up for us. We would certainly appreciate that as we try to make the Lock Shop the show of the year here at Edmonton Sports Talk. Huss, 2 games tonight, buddy. What do we got?
Well, we have a matchup of 2 teams that need a win, maybe more than just about anybody outside of Music City. May I present to you the Buffalo Sabres, who have lost 7 straight games after they swept their West Coast road trip, came back home, and they are 0-4-3 in their last 7. Now just a point up on the Montreal Canadiens in the basement of the East. Have you been following this story out of Buffalo this week? Kevin Adams met the media earlier this week. Just obviously the pressure going. He basically came up and he made all these excuses. Like, he goes, you know what? It's just, we're in a really tough situation. We don't have palm trees. And that was his line. We don't have palm trees. And we have New York state taxes. Like, it was basically one of these woe is me. And like,
nobody will come here scenario.
Disagree. Yeah, exactly. The why. So at the game on the weekend, the fans started showing up with pictures of palm trees.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. The palm trees. And then the guys, I sometimes check out the After the Whistle podcast with Andrew Peters and Craig Rivet. And they've been all over this. They wanted things to blow it up. They tweeted this out yesterday. Please stop bringing palm trees and wearing tropical shirts to games. Rumor has it the Sabres Bass is apparently getting upset about it. True story. So, anyways, a win. I feel so bad for the Buffalo fans. This is why I kind of have a soft spot for the Bills, even though they are a big rival of my Chiefs. Those people support their team so well. They deserve something good to happen to them. And I hope it's the hockey team and not the football team that does it. But They're in such a bad spot right now, but they're at home and they've got the New York Rangers, who have been absolutely abysmal. 2 wins in their last 10 games. They're coming off a home loss to the Chicago Blackhawks, which preceded a 7-5 loss at home to the Seattle Kraken. They got a win against Pittsburgh. They got pumped against the Devils. They beat the Habs, and before that, lost to the Flyers, Hurricanes, Blues, Oilers, and Flames. And, of course, threatened to waive their captain and ended up trading him to the Ducks. I don't know which team is in worse shape. Yeah, I think Buffalo is, to be honest with you, but this is a hilarious game in that somebody has to win. The line in the game is New York minus 141. Buffalo's plus 120 as a home dog. It looks like we're going to have Shesterkin and
Shesterkin will start, and unconfirmed, but going to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I think. I mean, under regular circumstances with a full board, this is likely just a stay away, do not touch game from me. But I'm very intrigued to try to get on a side in this thing tonight. I don't know where to go. I like. Part of me wants to just side with maybe the best player on the ice on either team, which would be Shesterkin in this situation. But I don't know why does Buffalo suck so bad? Like, they've got some good pieces.
They really do. They really do. I mean, I'm a fan of Dylan Cousins.
Yeah, he hasn't had a great year, but
no, he hasn't.
He was a guy I was slotting into like my last April Four Nations team. You know, like the last spring, it looked like he was trending in that direction.
The guy that I love on that team is Alex Tuck. Every team in the league would love to get their hands on that guy. Tage Thompson, Peterka, your boy Ryan McLeod, Zucker. I mean, their fourth line is whatever. But they can score goals. I mean, they just can't play defense very well. And, you've got those young studs on the blue line, Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, Boehm Byram. Like, they should be so much better than they are right now. But it seems like they can't catch a break. And much like Ottawa and Detroit and those other teams that have been losers for the last number of years, they somehow just find ways to turn wins or points into nothing. And that's what's been happening for Buffalo as of late. I mean, during this stretch of 7 losses, they blew a 4-0 lead to the Avalanche. And then the Detroit Red Wings, who can't score, put up 2 in the third period to make up a 2-goal deficit and then win in a shootout. So I have no faith in Buffalo right now. I think I kind of lean Rangers in this game just because I think they've got that high-end talent, and I think Shesterkin can go in and maybe put a stop to this with a big performance himself.
Rod Z with a trend here. Shesterkin, well, not trend, but a thought on it. Shesterkin was sleeping in a hospital chair and on edge with Prego wife. The reason for his slump. Baby's out. Buffalo's getting burped. Rangers minus 1.5.
Oh, okay.
He's not messing around.
I was thinking about the minus 1.5 on the other game tonight.
Sens at home against the Ducks.
Yeah.
Allmark confirmed for the Sens. Gibson unconfirmed for the Ducks.
This is a game, if you're the Ottawa Senators, you absolutely have to have. I mean, they just lost at home to the Islanders 4-2. Coming off 2 pretty nice wins at home against the Red Wings and the Predators. I mean, this is that part of that homestand. If you're a mid team in the East and you get the Ducks at home,
good point.
This is a game you absolutely have to have. And I kind of do wonder what's up, where Anaheim is. Obviously, they can take your head off with some hits now that they've got Gudas and Trouba on the blue line. But I mean, you just look at this latest run. I mean, they lost to the Habs, 5-1 loss to the Wild, 4-1 loss to the Golden Knights. And they did beat the Sens in that crazy game. Was it last week where they went 25 minutes without a shot on goal or something like that. I don't know. To me, this is just one of those games. You know what? We may need to get aggressive tonight. 2 puck lines.
Well, I already have it punched in. It's plus 462 to roll with 2 puck lines tonight.
I'm considering we followed our guts yesterday and it all came up. I have no issue doing that today.
All right, there you go. Senators minus 1.5 at home against the Ducks. Rangers minus 1.5 on the road with Shesterkin in net against the struggling Buffalo Sabres. Haas, the line in the Detroit-Buffalo game has moved half a point. It was at 2.5. It was 2 yesterday. We said that it was a little, or you said that it was, and I fully agreed with you. It was a little disrespectful that line wasn't 3. It has moved to 2.5. Do you think it gets to 3 before kickoff this weekend?
Could it get to 3? I kind of think it probably stays where it is.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a lot of people that will be on Buffalo just because of, how that offense is rolling right now and the fact that they just lost last week. I think this is a tough spot for the Lions. Although, listen, you're going to play good teams at some point. They've got a lot going on. The Vikings are pressing them. This is going to be such a good game. Like, would you say that that's the number 1 game on the slate this week? Bills Lions? It's got to be, right?
There's a lot of games that I really don't care about, or the average. Yeah, I'm intrigued by Steelers Eagles.
Yeah, I think that's number 2.
That's number 2, but I don't see a game that would have more of a neutral interest than the Bills and Lions. Not even close, really, to be honest with you.
No, to me, that's the number 1 game. The number 2 game is in the same window, Steelers Eagles.
And then I'd probably go the Thursday nighter, buddy.
The Thursday nighter, I think mine is the Bucks Chargers.
Well, that'd be a good game too.
2 teams that are both in the playoffs right now. And I'll tell you what, the Packers Seahawks, the Sunday nighter, by record is just basically a notch below that Pittsburgh Philly game and the Buffalo Detroit game. But yeah, no, I think it's probably going to be in and around 2.5. Like, it might get closer to it, but bottom line is if you like the Lions at 3, you're getting plus 110 right now. And obviously it would still be a push if they win by 2. What's
the 2.5 number? What's the 2.5 number?
2.5 for Detroit's minus 111, and 2.5 for the Bills is minus 105.
All right.
So it is trending. The money has come in from yesterday since on Detroit at that short number of 2. Now it's 2.5. So maybe it would get to 3. I think it probably settles though. By the time we get to game time, we're looking right in the range that we're at right now on this one.
We spun the random wheel this morning, the internet wheel, not our desk wheel, but the internet wheel this morning to get an NFL parlay for the weekend. And that wheel came up Chiefs. So when we do the wheel, we can take either the money line or the spread. So we got Chiefs. We just took Chiefs money line. We got Broncos. We took Broncos money line. And then the damn wheel spun the Giants for us. So we took the Giant. We have to take the Giants. So we took the Giants plus 14.5. I'm looking at it right now. It's sitting at 16. It was 14.5 at 7:30 this morning. And now it's at 16. So to me, that feels like I've missed some injury news one way or the other for it to move 1.5 in 3 hours. But the wheel gave us Giants plus 14.5, Broncos money line, Chiefs money line.
Let's see. I'm just going to search. Maybe the line movement is because that Tommy DeVito
is Tommy Cutlet's going to start. That's the only. That's the only thing I can think of. Or Neighbors, who's been nursing an injury. Like, is he out?
Oh, sorry. Here we are. 1 hour ago, Giants head coach Brian Daboll told reporters that Drew Lock is in a walking boot due to a heel injury, and Tommy DeVito is expected to start Sunday versus the Ravens.
There we go. Okay, so then I have a question for you from a fantasy perspective, Huss, in the Spite League. Now, my playoff preview has me winning 127-90. Like I'm projected to win by 37 points. However, would you start Neighbors with Tommy DeVito at quarterback? Would you start Amari Cooper against Detroit in what could be a high-scoring game? Or would you actually, and this guy I haven't started him in like probably 8 weeks, but at some point I feel like he's got to do something, and that's Deebo Samuel. So who would you start this week? Amari Cooper,
I got Major.
Neighbors, or Samuel?
Cooper had a big game last week, didn't he?
Was that his best game? I think that was his best game as a Bill. I'll bring up his game log.
Like, the one thing I'll say, the script, like, what's the total on that Bills-Lions game? It's probably the biggest of the week. 54.5. So you know there's going to be a lot of action in that game. I mean, they're going to be throwing the football. I mean, listen, if you want to beat the Detroit Lions, you're going to have to get to 30, for sure. I think Cooper probably is the mix. Like, I can't trust Deebo Samuel right now.
I know. I haven't started him, like, literally since, like, late September.
Yeah, he's just been sitting there. And then who is the other option?
Malik Neighbors.
Deebo?
Neighbors. And he's been bitching about targets and stuff, and he's like, you're not calling plays. Like, you're calling plays like I'm not even in the lineup. So I don't know if they give him a squeaky wheel game against the Baltimore Ravens, but, like, Amari Cooper, I traded for him when he got traded to the Bills, and I was like, you know what? I think he'll be a real good guy that I can start if need be. Since he's gone to the Bills, he had a touchdown in his first game in 66 yards. In his second game, now he got banged up here, and he missed some time. I think it was in his second game he got hurt, he missed time. His last 3 games, the game against Kansas City, he was only targeted 3 times, caught 2 of them for 55 yards. The game against San Francisco, he was targeted 3 times, caught all 3 for 12 yards. But this game against the Rams, he all of a sudden out of nowhere was targeted 14 times, but only caught 6 of them for 95 yards and no touchdown there. So, I mean, I've been riding Neighbors in that spot all year, but I don't know. Like, does Amari Cooper find the end zone? Does Amari Cooper get 8 catches or something in this game against Detroit?
There's going to be garbage time in Baltimore Giants.
Yeah,
I think
true.
we can know that. But, I mean, do you want to rely on Tommy Cutlets getting Malik Neighbors the ball? Or would you rather have Josh Allen be the guy feeding
Let me see here. Tommy DeVito game log. I want to see what he did with that. This will be hilarious, but I'll take a look at it. Let's see. So his one game, he was 21 of 31, 189 yards in the loss. How many of those 21 completions were to Neighbors? Neighbors had 9 targets, 6 catches, 64 yards. I mean, that wouldn't be too bad. That would get me close to 10 points, which should probably be okay. Like, I don't need a guy to steal the week for me. I got lots of those guys. I just need a guy to not get 2-3 points.
Listen, when it comes down to it, this is how I would make the decision. Do I want my receiver to rely on Tommy DeVito or Josh Allen?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
To me, I'm going with Josh Allen. Even though, I mean, Neighbors is amazing, and I think Dable is trying to keep him happy and, you know, let him know that he really is the centerpiece of the offense moving forward. But it's also a game that they're probably just going to get boat raced by the Ravens. So that could mean that they just lay off, play some other guys, and Neighbors can get, like, I don't rule out the possibility of Neighbors having a 9-10 catch game.
Yeah, I know. It's always I know.
I just think that the amount of points and the offense that the Bills are going to need to put up to hang with the Lions is going to mean that pretty much everybody, especially a guy like Cooper, who looked really good last week, I think is going to get his fair share of targets. And I think the chances of scoring touchdowns is a hell of a lot greater for a receiver on the Bills than a receiver on the Giants.
Huss, before we wrap, we got about 5 minutes left. What'd you think of the Blue Jays yesterday? Trade for a 3-time Gold Glove middle infielder who his offensive numbers have fallen off now, I guess, 2 years in a row. I don't necessarily like. He looks like a good player, but I don't necessarily know that's what they need. It doesn't seem to address the big bats that they're supposedly looking for.
No, it doesn't. And he's really regressed for the last couple of years.
It's concerning.
I saw Chris Rose say that just his defense alone makes him a 4 or 5 WAR player. I mean, he is as good as it gets when it comes to defense. But there is an element of, plating some runs and putting some runs across the board. So
he steals bags, stole 30 of them last year, but it's like he's a great defensive glove who can steal. But Matt Grimallo was on this morning. He said something like his on-base percentage last year was like 280 or something like that, which isn't going to be good enough.
No, that's not going to cut it. And you know what? They gave up Horowitz, who was a guy that I really liked. I kind of was excited about him moving well, and then
you see the Guardians flipped Horowitz to the Pirates right away.
Really?
Yeah, they flipped him to the Pirates for 2 top 30 prospects and a right-handed pitcher. So I don't know. They must have been targeting somebody from the Pirates and decided they'd flip Horowitz over there. So we'll see.
Josh Goldberg had the best because again, I mean, did I pay a lot of attention to what happened in Cleveland last year? Do I know much about Jimenez? No, just kind of what we're seeing. But he tweeted this out yesterday. I just cracked. I do feel we've reached a point with this front office where they could get prime Barry Bonds for a potato and there would still be a lot of anger.
That sounds about right. All right, before I get into what's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk, once again, a reminder, the EST, WST Lock Shop Poker Series event number 5 next Tuesday at 8 o'clock in Edmonton, 9 o'clock in Winnipeg. And Huss, we just got these bad boys. This is an EST shot glass right here. I'll pack some of these for my next trip out. Yeah, that's the Birdie Booze logo there. And then we've got the beer mug for the 6 o'clocker lager there too, which is really nice.
The jar.
So, yeah, it's the jar. It's a good old jar of beer, It's this is exciting stuff. It looks really nice. Real nice merch here.
You ever use that term for beers? Hey, you want to go grab a few jars?
Oh, God. I mean, if I would have been around in the 1930s, yes, 100%. You know what? That should become a thing. People should start asking guys, hey, you want to? Yeah, I like that. We'll have a few jars. Tip back a few jars.
That is something that, a few of my contemporaries have thrown at me over the years. Not a common one, but yeah, I do kind of like the term jar.
Go have a few jars at Wind City.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Straight there after the game to watch our bets come in. Gotta have a good bar with NHL center ice that will get the late games on after the early ones. I mean, we're spoiled. Don't tell anyone too loud, though.
Oh, sorry, guys.
No free ads.
What's coming up on WST today, buddy?
Well, Sawyer's going to join us. We're going to talk more about the game last night, what he heard in between the benches from Scott Arniel and Joe Sacco, what he thought about Trent Frederick going after David Gustafsson, and obviously another crazy performance by that top line, and the frick you game to Don Sweeney from Mark Scheifele. So, Murat Atesh is going to jump on, and we actually are going to get into a little bit more of the baseball offseason as well. Josh Goldberg's going to join us in the second hour of the program.
Excellent, buddy. Busy lock shop tomorrow. Best of luck to everybody who's going to ride on the puck line parlay that we got going on tonight. 13 games tomorrow in the National Hockey League and a huge Thursday nighter between the Rams and the Niners. WST coming up right away, 1 o'clock. Winnipeg time, noon here in Edmonton. We got the oil stream locked and loaded with myself and Tommy Gazzola breaking down the Oilers' win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Make sure you stick around for that. Thank you very much for joining us today. Best of luck tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow on The Lock Shop.
Later, guys.